There hasn't been, as far as I am aware of, a time in history where we've discovered something new. We've said, hey, really brilliant that you discovered this, but let's forget that we know about how to do that, okay? Even smart people inventing the atomic bomb haven't decided to just burn the papers and be like, yep, fuck this. We've been working as a society on getting better and better and better qualified. And now an interesting thing is happening because this is skilled labor that is actually being replaced.
You're listening to Podcasting for Experts, with honest conversations about using podcasting as a tool to grow your reach, increase your audience, make a positive impact on the world, and most importantly, to get paid for your efforts. I'm your host, Jess, and we are Pristine Podcasts. Let's talk podcasting.
Hello, and welcome back to Podcasting for Experts. I'm Jess, co-founder here at Pristine Podcasts, and this is Season 3, Episode 10. And today we're going to be picking up a topic that's been discussed to no end in the last few weeks, and that is the topic of AI and how it may impact the podcasting space now and in future. And not just the podcasting space, but also our work lives, our professional lives in general. So the first thing that I want to talk about is the fact that AI realistically is here to stay, and it is probably going to transform how we live and how we work. So there hasn't been, as far as I am aware of, a time in history where we've discovered something new, be it mechanical, technical, and as humanity, as a society, or as multiple societies combined, we've said, hey, really brilliant that you discovered this, but let's forget that we know about how to do that, okay? So even smart people inventing the atomic bomb haven't decided to just burn the papers and be like, yep, fuck this is gonna go to the grave with me, you know? No, they thought, hey, I've invented this thing, I wanna get some credibility for this, so let's ship it out to the world and just let it be that way. And then subsequently, it's kind of been down to societies actually saying, hey, maybe it's a good idea if we just pretend that, we don't know how to do this and just don't use it. And still, whenever it comes to this specific period in our lives, there's still people waving around being like, oh, we have bombs, So it's not like with anything that we've discovered, our societies have at any point in history decided, hey, this is a really bad thing that we invented, So we always try and look at it from a perspective of, hey, this is here now. Let's evolve who we are as people and what we do with this thing that somebody has invented. And that is going to be the exact same thing as far as AI is concerned. So this is something people have been working on for a long time. We've always had smart algorithms figure out what is this person watching on TikTok at 11 a.m., at 11 p.m., at this time, at that time, and what do they want to see more of. And the more we use services, the more those services learn about us as people, and the more they adjust what we see on those platforms according to what we actually like, because they like to keep our attention focused in that place. So with all of that development, we have been working for a long time on developing very smart computers that basically understand how we work. And now all they were missing is large scales of information to sort of combine these pieces of information together to give an output. And of course, to be able to use language in the way that we do. For a lot of people, it seems to have come as a bit of a surprise because for years, the message has been that we need to get better qualified as people. So I remember when I was little, the majority of people was finishing school in Germany around 16 years old. They would go to a local business. They would start an apprenticeship and they would learn how to be a butcher, how to be a car mechanic, how to do jobs that are useful to society. And over time, the qualification requirement has kind of gone up. So now the expectation really is that you finished, I don't know what you call it, high school, A-levels, Abitur, Matura, like it's called different things in different places, but you're going to go to school until you're 18, 19. And then not only are you going to have this higher level school certificate, but you're also going to go to study something at university for 3 years. And now, if you look at job advertisements, you will see that the majority of those job advertisements be like, yeah, You're doing data analytics, which realistically just needs you to know like 3-4 different things, but we expect that you also have a degree of some sort. So now we're in a place where if you didn't bother to go to university because you actually had a passion for something else that can be learned, by actually doing the thing, and you can get really good at it. If you were to go out there to try and get a job in this direction, you actually wouldn't be able to, because you've been told all your life, well, you need to get better qualifications. You need to get higher level qualifications because, that's what it needs. That's what we want our people to have. We want our people to be educated, to learn a lot of information. And part of that, I think, has always been that we were pretty sure that at some point computers would replace the kind of lower skilled jobs, right? So that was the whole thing, starting in the Industrial Revolution and coming to the present day, where the kind of manual labor was getting replaced, where people working in factories are getting replaced, and they are now just people that operate the computers and do the things that the computer can't do the things that the machine can't do. And so we've been working as a society on getting better and better and better qualified. And now an interesting thing is happening, because actually this evolution of computer now means that it is not actually my hairdresser that's going to be replaced. It is not my car mechanic that's going to be replaced, but it's actually the people who write. It's the people who design. So this is skilled labor that is actually being replaced. And I know there's like multiple camps out there. There's the camp out there right now that's saying, oh, this is by no means good enough yet to actually replace anybody. Like the amount of copywriters that I've seen in the last couple of months that are like, oh my God, like, oh, AI is not going to replace me anytime soon, la da da. And then we have the extreme camp that's like, oh my God, all of our jobs will be lost and like we will have nothing to do. So there's like two extremes to this. And I'm kind of like, I'm a little bit in the middle. So on the note of AI isn't good enough to replace anyone, what it's not doing right now is to check itself, so there is an AI number one checking AI number two's work for being correct and things like that. So yes, that part still takes work, but as far as writing goes, as far as adjusting its writing goes, as far as the output goes, if your input is good, your output is pretty good. So as an example of that, a few weeks ago, Ali Abdar was testing the AI output on Twitter. So he is basically, without publicly saying so, been testing content that's been completely AI generated. And as far as his Twitter statistics go, this is the best content that he has ever put out. Okay. So these are the best and most popular posts on his entire Twitter feed. So on the note of it's not good enough yet to be writing content for you, yes, it is. And it probably will write better than you do because it's learned copywriting frameworks. It knows certain things about the psychology of people. For the last few weeks, everyone using tools like ChatGPT have been feeding it and have been having conversations with it, which means its language model is getting better and better with every single person that uses it. So, yeah, the input is actually really important, because if you ask dumb questions, you get dumb answers. Yes, you do have to fact check the stuff that it puts out. So whenever you get it to do research, for example, you have to actually verify that that is true, because it will sound very convincing and blatantly tell you that someone said something that they've never said. Because whenever it doesn't know the answer, it's quite happy to just, make something up and combine random pieces of information that don't go together. But from a writing perspective, like, the output is actually really good. But I'm not in the doom and gloom to say that it's going to immediately replace all of our work, because it's going to be so amazing and humans will not be needed anymore and we will all be unemployed and lost floating the planet. This has happened in history before. Technology is on an evolutionary path always. So humans have always found a way to adjust society to do something else or to do something differently, and to leverage this new tool that we have in a way that lets us develop ourselves and our work more efficiently. I guess it's a choice, but that's how I choose to see it. So that was the rant about AI. So interestingly, Acast did a really, really, really small and absolutely not statistically significant survey of 50 podcasters and 300 listeners. So that kind of survey, it's so small, it doesn't mean anything realistically. However, they were asking them, do you think it is ethical for podcasters to use ChatGPT or similar tools to create podcast content? And the interesting thing was that only 36% of the listeners thought that, yes, this is a publicly available tool, so it's ethical to use in any way. But 84% of podcasters thought that it was okay to use. So you can kind of see the discrepancy, because the listeners are obviously concerned about the output from the podcasts that they listen to, and the podcasters are thinking, hell yeah, this saves me a lot of time and effort. However, the second option was, yes, it is ethical to use as long as the podcaster is only using it for idea generation. And then suddenly 49% of the listeners were saying, yes, it's okay to use for idea generation. And only 15% were completely against using, like podcasters using AI in their workflow. So you can see that the concern that the listener has is a valid concern. And it is basically simply the concern of, am I just going to listen to something that someone has basically let ChatGPT write from start to finish, because this isn't the opinion of that person. This may not be factually correct. This may just be some garble that kind of comes out. So people are simply concerned that they're going to end up wasting their time listening to content that nobody's put any effort into creating, right? So I can understand that, because if I'm listening to a podcast, I'm listening to it because I want new and up-to-date information from the industry that's not available that way right now, or I want to hear the person and their opinion. I don't want to listen to somebody that's reading off a script that's been entirely written by AI. And some people are, of course, permanently against it because it's new, just like people were against microwaves and cars because they wanted to keep, riding their horse down the street. So that always happens. So I think our main concern has to be that we don't lose the originality in our content, and that we don't lose our thoughts and replace them with an output that a machine's generated. And in that sense, I think I can understand. And I think this is something that everyone, you're not doing your show just to turn up and to read off a nonsensical script that doesn't sound like you, hasn't been generated by you. You haven't put your ideas into it. Like, we're in it because we want to share knowledge with people, because we want to help our clients, because we want to help people to build businesses that, grow sustainably. And we've got some experience points that maybe an AI doesn't have. We've got our opinions, we've got our personal stories, and those are the things, like the personal stories are the things that cannot be replaced by something that doesn't know you. Okay. So I think it's really important in that sense that we stay on track, that we use these things to help us, but not to just, generate all of our stuff. So now that we've talked about all of this, how can we actually use AI to kind of increase our productivity a little bit? I'm going to run through a couple of things where I think everyone should be using this by now, because it will just make your life so much easier. And then as far as the detailed prompts and things like that goes, there's a million places online now. And you don't have to pay for them, by the way. You don't have to buy any prompts from anyone, but you can just do a little bit of research to improve your input, because the input that you give any tool is going to determine the output. And there are some tricks that you can use to make this way easier. Okay, so the first place where I think everyone can benefit from getting some AI supercharged help is kind of the first phase in the process of making an episode. So that's like your research and idea generation phase. I've already said it earlier. Please don't blindly use factual information that's been put out by ChatGPT, because ChatGPT will invent stuff that seems to fit the topic and it will sound very convincing, but it's actually factually incorrect. And also the information could be out of date. So basically, what you want to do is any statistics, data, those kind of things, you want to find that research yourself. And you want to double check, because I have seen examples of ChatGPT basically quoting a study that was done, and that study is nowhere to be found. So far, it doesn't seem to be a real study that really ever happened. ChatGPT was just like, okay, I need a scientific proof. for this claim that I just made. So I'm going to invent one. And it was like, pick a random researcher's name, pick a random title of the study, slap a random year behind it, and there's your study. So if you publish that, it will look very convincing, but it's actually not correct. And I think that's something we should pay attention to. So don't blindly use information that's been put out, but do fact check, particularly the important stuff. So we're not going to use it to really rely on research and statistics, but what we can do is basically generate endless ideas for our episode. So you, for example, can feed AI input from your audience, let it sift through it, find the main points from that content, and then you can ask it to generate like a whole heap of ideas for your upcoming episodes that you can then run with and expand upon. And sometimes it considers viewpoints that you might have not considered before. So what you can also do is basically ask it for reasons behind why people are experiencing something, ask them for their beliefs that support them. What are some beliefs that lead to somebody maybe believing this, what are some underlying beliefs, what are core beliefs? So you can really help it to generate like a broader web of ideas that you can then pick and choose from what is going to be the most relevant for your audience at this moment in time. The key factor really is that you don't want to just start producing a load of rubbish auto-generated content, read it off and call it a day, right? Because at the end of the day, you need to know your audience. When you are podcasting for business, the thing is that it is super easy to get stuck on the content wheel, like you're just everyday episode. But at the end, you're not really getting all that much results for it for your business. And that is why it's so important to know exactly, okay, this quarter, where am I trying to go to? What do I need to tell these people right now so that, they are ready to move towards buying something that I'm going to end up selling them at some point, That is really a key factor in our marketing, is how do we take our people from where they are right now to where we need them to be ready to work with us, right? And AI isn't going to replace that. So it is down to you to know your audience. It is down to you to create the content. It is down to you to lead them on this journey, but you can get help. Something else that you can check if AI is able to do that yet is to actually gather information about a guest that's going to be on your show. So obviously, because it's reliant on data that it's been given, it won't know smaller people that weren't well known a few years ago. But if you were in a place where you were able to interview somebody that's pretty big, you could probably ask it to generate a whole heap of information about that person. You could ask for book summaries. You could just get the key points of stuff to take away, and then you can go and pick the most interesting aspects, and then you can go yourself and research those things in more detail that you want to ask the person about. So if your guest's well known enough, then that is something that you can actually do. Okay, second phase, scripting and getting your episodes ready. So something that you can definitely let the AI do is to let it edit your script, reorganize it so that it flows better. You can ask it to use copywriting principles to help you to structure the content. So basically, you would write an outline, you would use the ideas that it's given you to maybe do a start on that. Then you might ask it, okay, can you think of anything else that I've forgotten to mention that would be really important? And then see what it comes up with. Then you can ask it to go fix any grammatical errors, which is particularly useful if English isn't your first language and you're doing a podcast. So you can go and you can have it correct those things. It can improve the flow of your script. It can make it more engaging, make it more on point, etc. So there's a lot of things that you can get help with that are simply structural or that are copy-based or that are language-based. You can have it replace certain words and insert more powerful emotional words that you might not have been able to think of. So there is a lot of stuff that you can do as long as it doesn't rewrite the entire thing. And then basically it will still be in line with your voice. Okay, so once you've recorded the episode, you can get it to help you with your transcripts and then tidying them up. So transcripts that are made by humans have always been relatively costly. So you're paying $1 to $1.50 per minute of audio. And we all know auto-generated transcripts are dodgy at the best of times. So for most podcasters, if you're having one episode a week, 45 minutes, you're going to pay a minimum of $45 per episode per week to get this transcript done. Likely it's going to be closer to 60. So for most small business podcasters, this is technically an expense that is not really worth it. You could say that, okay, well, there's some SEO benefit to it, which I agree. But in general, you're not going to be directly earning a lot of money from the fact that you are spending potentially $300 a month on getting transcripts done for your episodes. So they are important because they do help with search. They are important because there's people who can't listen to your show, so they have the transcripts to use. But I wouldn't say that it's worth having them done by a human. So there are plenty of services that auto-generate transcripts. We still use Otter for our clients because it's just, I don't know, it's an easy service to use. It's decently accurate. So we start with the auto-generated transcript as a basis. Now, what you can do is you can take that transcript from Otter and you can copy it into another service. So I, for example, use Notion a lot, and I have Notion AI in my account. So I will go into Notion, copy the transcript in, and then I'll break it into paragraphs. And then I'm going to ask Notion's AI to go and fix all of the grammar issues in all of the different paragraphs. And then I go and I give it a final once over, because any technical terms or any names from your guest or people they've been talking about, they might be misspelled. Then you can also ask the AI to go through the transcript and find you any other resources or links or books and stuff like that that you've mentioned. So that saves you a whole host of time to not have to go through the whole thing again. And then you have a pretty good transcript. It is still not going to be perfect, because perfect costs probably $60 per episode, depending on how long your episode is. And this costs you an Otter subscription and a Notion AI subscription. And then, I just get to the point where at some point good is good enough, So as long as there isn't anything completely messed up in it, I don't really care. It is not worth that level of effort. So then in the next phase, we're going to end up promoting our episode, and that's where AI really comes in to shine. So you can do so many things at this point. So titles are super important when it comes to your episodes and your marketing, because the title of the episode is what people read first. If your title sucks, less people will look at your episode. So why not use the AI's copywriting skills to let it generate 10 different headline versions for you? And then you can pick the one that you resonate with the most. I actually end up just getting some inspiration from that. And then I combine 2 different headlines because it's most appropriate for my people and my episode. So why not? So that takes less time. Plus, honestly, it is going to be way more likely that that tool is going to generate a better headline than you will do if you don't write a lot of copy and if marketing isn't really the thing that you do. The next place where you can then get help is your show notes. So it always takes a little while to write the description of the episode, to upload it to your host, then write your full show notes, then include all the links mentioned in the episode. So all you can do is highlight the transcript, and then I tell Notion AI to go write me a summary of what's been discussed in that episode. And that small summary, I will then go and play with it to make sure that the characters that are visible in Apple Podcasts at the start are actually, they're just interesting. They generate some kind of curiosity, or they produce an open loop or something like that. That's something we've really got to talk about in another episode. But I basically then rewrite it a little bit, and then my description is ready to go. And then I ask it to write a longer summary of a certain number of characters that includes the keyword that has a minimum of this amount of headlines. And then it will write show notes. And then I can go back if I've already found the links and stuff, and I can put them underneath it. And I have the timestamps for everything in Otter, because I can just scroll through the transcript and then I can be like, okay, at minute 3, I was starting to talk about this. At minute 7, I was starting to talk about this. So it's super easy to use those tools to actually help you finish your episode off, which usually, as we all know, takes a decent amount of time if you want to do it well. And this is something I will happily rush through, where I'm like, come on, I just want to get the episode out there. I don't want to have to do all these things now. So I understand that kind of feeling. And then the last thing that you can get help with is to take your transcript and your summary and generate all sorts of social media content from that text that you've provided. So you need to give it some guidance. Like you need to see, okay, how long do I want this to be? What's the character count? Should it include hashtags? You can even ask it to start generating TikTok ideas that are related to the topic of the episode. Some of the ones that it comes up with are utter trash, but some of them are actually really good. And I would have never thought about that. So you can go and you can use other AI design tools such as like Midjourney or DALL-E to generate some different images to go with your social media posts, because they do stand out quite a lot. So there's a whole host of things that you can do after that that saves you a lot of time. Yeah, I'm not sure. How do you feel about the developments? Like, I would love to have a chat about that over on social media. You know, we're always up on Instagram and things like that. I would love to know what you think, how your podcast workflow has changed. So yeah, if you want to reach out to us, I would love to have a chat. And you can also send us an email to podcast@pristinepodcast.com if you found any amazing ways in which you've incorporated AI into your workflow and the results that you've gotten with that, or if you have anything specific, any tool that's recently come out that you absolutely love. I know there's one new one that is supposed to basically automatically generate all of your show notes, transcripts, and social media content, but I haven't tried it yet, so I won't be able to say if it works. I'm kind of set on the tools that I'm using right now. So yeah, if you've tried that out already, then I would love to know. So tweet us at Pristine Podcast -the S, or find us on Instagram at Pristine Podcast, or drop us an email to podcast@pristinepodcast.com. And then I would love to know what you think and how AI has kind of changed your workflow. And yeah, that's it for me. As always, I hope you have an amazing day, and I will see you for the next one.
That's it for this episode. Thank you so much for listening. We really appreciate you. If you are looking for a community where you can brainstorm with like-minded podcasters and business owners, then don't forget to check out our Facebook group. You can find it at pristinepodcast.com/group. The link is also in the show notes.